And although people don't know about you in this very moment, the world would know soon. That's how you have to look at it. That's how I look at it on certain things. Like, it's cool, okay, but just keep going. Eventually, it's gonna happen.
That's all.
You just have to keep going, and it has to be within to know, like, in a humble way.
Welcome back, my dude. I'm gonna shake your hand one more time. We've been talking here for a minute, bro.
Brother, what's the word?
We got a reunion. I want to bring back and introduce one of the fellows that was here last fall. Deshaun, get over here, bro. Come say what's up.
Deshaun, it's on the mic. Deshaun is here. What's up, people?
What have you been up to, bro? Fill in the audience. This is our photographer, our man that's behind the soundboard. If you recognize him, he did some of our bits when we were doing the hot take questions, and he got to be on a few of the episodes. So yeah, what have you been up to?
I lately just been focusing on my business, just chilling, working in my photography segment. I'm about to drop a graduation shoot, probably like tomorrow or within the next week, something like that. Honestly, I just been kind of focused on building myself and making sure that I am at my best at all times and not just part-time. And that's been really good for me, just isolation and fixing shit and getting on what I need to get on.
I love that, bro. Well, it's good to have you. It's good to have the brother back in the building. I'm going to give a quick plug. If you guys need headshots taken for graduation photos or any type of creative shoots, collab with Deshaun. He's definitely open to taking on new projects, and go ahead and follow his Instagram. But welcome back, dude. We are on we're on episode 49.
Yeah, a lot of time, man.
Man, we were looking back at the episodes last week.
Bro, to 10,000 hours.
10,000, bro.
10,000 hours.
And I think just to kind of like analyze it, man, just the consistency that we've been able to show week in and week out. I think there's only been 2, maybe 3 weeks that we've missed due to whether it was illness, whether it was us traveling, whether it was one of us that just, had something come up. But man, I can't tell you how blessed I am to sit here and say, like, man, your consistency is huge, bro. And I appreciate it. It's noticed, it's seen. And man, I couldn't imagine doing this with anyone else. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate it, bro. This has been fun. This is fun, man. Like I said, when I first initially came on, I was just coming to support.
Yeah.
Man. And now we're at episode 49. And this is just of me being on.
That's true. Yeah.
It's been going on prior to this. So this is really a blessing, man. I look forward to this every week. We're around each other all the time. So this is just a weekly thing, but this is a blessing, like, because yes, the consistency, but it's like, man, I'll genuinely look forward to this, man. Like
every week.
This is super fun. Like, and it is consistent. We're both super consistent. But if I give anybody my word or, you know what I mean, say I'm going to do something, bro, I'm not playing around about that. Like, I'm serious about that. That's just who I am. So I appreciate you for bringing me on to this journey. And I tell people about this podcast all the time, man. And I tell them this all the time because people have been running up on him when we're out or when he's out and like noticing him from his TikTok and the podcast, and that genuinely like makes me happy. I tell him every time, like, that makes me happy because in the space of being in content, for people to just run up on you and see you, and I'm saying this, I've seen this in the flesh every time we've been out. Yeah, that's not a hyperbole. Every time somebody's running up like, man, I've seen your podcast, or I know you off TikTok, and it's like, I laugh and enjoy for it because it's like, man, it's just a blessing to see. So it's just all a blessing, bro.
Yeah, nuts. And what's nuts is it's only growing, man. Like 14, 15 months that we've been doing this, and we're continuing to get it, elevate it, talk about better things, align it to different areas. And I think just the overall theme of this is just, I never would have envisioned it getting here. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about it is all I pay attention to is week in and week out is making sure that, you coming through Tuesday, 5:30?
I already know.
That's as soon as that's locked in, I already know it's going to be something beautiful, bro. Again, I think I want to thank not only just, Julian, Deshaun that's sitting over there. Deshaun helped put this together, especially in the summer. And man, we were going strong, man. Like the summer and the fall time was so fun last year just because we would show up, hang out just like we did today. And, to be able to have the family back together, it's been, really beautiful and nice. So we'll go ahead and we'll kick it off. So for episode 49 today, we're going to go ahead and get into like part 2 of our conversation from last week. If you haven't watched it, we spent some time talking about how coaches impact players and, what a good coach looks like, what's the makeup of a good coach, and really like how the evolution of sports and where we're in with coaches and with athletes and how it's playing a part with, the money that's being given now, and just making sure that where these conversations are aligning with people that are previous athletes, that are athletes now, or that are going to become and aspire to be athletes. So if you're here for that, this is the episode that you guys want to be in for. And today, man, we're going to talk about the teammate you are in sports and how it can become the person you are, the man you are in life. So the first question that I want to ask you is, do you feel like the qualities that you have as a teammate can continuously impact and show up in modern day and present day as who you are as a person?
Absolutely, man. And I would defer to what we were just talking about in regards to this very podcast. It's like I made a commitment to be a co-host, help out a brother, friend within this space. If I give you my commitment, I'm treating it just like practice or a game.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like I'm putting my best foot forward, speaking with intention, speaking about quality things. But for one, it's the intentionality of we're doing this every Tuesday at this time, here at this time or earlier. It's no different. So those traits, it's linear. Just like if you have a player that's late to practice, that's not getting his work in on his own, that's not going to work out, that's not diligent about it, coming late to the podcast, not notifying about if there's traffic or I need to reschedule and there's a constant needing to reschedule. It's the same type of person. So who you are in regards to if you're playing sports, it's definitely going to be who you are in life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. And I think the passion and the pursuit of something is what it really, kind of dials into. And I think both of us come from areas to where we really loved our sport,
absolutely,
to the fullest extent. And I think we gave at certain points or, throughout our journey, everything we could to what we did as athletes. So I think it is easy for us to relate. And, now thinking about it, bro, like as far as we've come, I shouldn't have expected anything less with the determination that you were as an athlete. And I don't need to know stats. I don't need to know how good you were. Based off of us just showing up and me seeing you be here for 15 months, I know that you were a hard worker and that you played hard. You know what I'm saying? Just based off the quality. So I would agree, man. I think there are areas that players can show up still and be able to see that part of themselves as athletes, especially when they're done with the game. And that's why I find it so, what's the word that I'm looking for? I find it so powerful that just because your game is over, it doesn't mean that the game is over. You know what I'm saying? Like life is still going to consist of wins and losses, and you still got to show up. You still got to be there the next day. You still got to go. If you are in the gym, that's still a workout that you still got to hit. You still got to watch film. You still got to analyze the things that you did the day before and how you can do them better. So I think getting out of the athlete mindset doesn't even need to happen because of the fact that the qualities that you've carried up until then have been so preeminent that it's always going to be there, or it could be. So we'll stick on this for a little bit, but I want to ask you another question. For the guys that, let's just say, or before we get into that, what would you consider a bad teammate? What would you consider a guy that just wasn't necessarily a good role model on the team, or just in general a bad teammate for the team?
Yeah, it's crazy that you asked this because I literally was just watching an interview of Austin Rivers interviewing
Okay.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay.
He asked him the same question.
Really? That's cool.
And when he was answering it, literally, like I was like answering it in my mind,
Okay.
and he gave a pretty much the same answer. So the two things that Giannis said that I'll say here, because I think these are super essential things. There's so many different things, but one thing, number one, which is also what he said, which I'll say too, just a teammate that's not a hard worker, that's lazy. It's like if you're lazy, if you're not trying to get better for one yourself, but the collective of the team, why are you even here? Like especially at a certain point when you're playing at a high level, just stop playing if you're not gonna work hard. Secondarily, a player or a teammate that's on a certain path and they're not there for the betterment of the team or themselves, and they're trying to bring somebody else with them.
Oh, okay.
Specifically like a younger teammate.
Yeah.
They're trying to pull them into their mess, or they're trying to create friction or bring somebody else into a chaotic situation in regards to what they have going on. I think those two things, and I've seen those two things. I'm pretty sure you have too. Anybody that's played a certain amount of time in the sport, in sports, have seen that. Those two things, I think those are real detrimental things. I mean, there's so many other things, but if we look at not like working hard, that's super detrimental.
Yeah.
And then bringing other people into whatever mess you have, those things are just super, super. It's toxicity, it's chaotic, and it's never good for the team. So I would say those two things. Again, there's a bullet point, but those two things
Those
really
are big.
hit home. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think, and I'll get into this just a little bit too. Is like those two things that show up in one player of a team of, let's just say 15 to 20. Man, those are big things, bro.
Sure.
When there's a certain standard that's supposed to be on the team, right? Like a coach sets a standard and sets a theme for each team that comes in and comes out each season. And they're supposed to stand on pillars and beliefs and values. All it takes is for one guy to ruin that for the whole team, especially when it comes to you're still impacting the team with the areas that you lack in. And it's like they always say, the weakest player, the weakest link on the team is actually the most influential or can be the most impactful because of the fact that the way they operate is going to make the standard come down. And if you don't have your captains, your guys that are setting the standard and talking to this dude, it's not going to ever go up. You know what I'm saying? So I think just in general, to add one more point to that, I think the selfishness aspect too, which you can tie into that as well. Any team sport that you're in, bro, selflessness is all you can have. And I would say and argue that a lot of those teams that are out there that may have had the talent, we always hear it, right? Man, they had the talent to be there. They had the talent to be great. This company has something, like we have a bunch of good people that have a lot of experience. I think it comes down to the selfishness of what people are doing. And it's like you mentioned, if you're not willing to grab the freshman or the young player behind you and be like, hey, as a junior or as a sophomore, I'm taking you on my shoulder and I'm going to show you the way and how we do things around here, rather than, man, you messed up again. That's why you're a freshman. That's why you stay there. And that's why we're here. Yeah. It doesn't build the legacy, right? And then we get to these juniors who they look up and they were those guys that got treated that way. So yes, as much as you can be upset with them, it's a standard that continues to get built. And unless you stop it at the time where it's at, it can get detrimental for not only the team, but just for the younger kids that are coming through. But with all that being said, do you think that's able to be taken away from a bigger side, from a coach's perspective or from a teammate's perspective in trying to nurture or trying to teach? Like, who would you think would have a bigger impact in that?
In regards to like
the selfishness, the just not working hard. Like, do you think a player would be more receptive if a guy had those qualities to hear it from another player or from a teammate or from a coach?
That's a great question, man.
Because we want them to grow, man. Because like you said, if they don't, they're going to be stuck in that and they're going to turn 25, 26 or 30. And they're going to look back and say, how did I get to be here?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And in my response, I'll pose it as a question to you in regards to like us both being athletes, and hopefully I know you'll be able to like depict this in your mind from this question. So in us both playing sports, I think we can all envision in a team sports, an athlete or a player going to one of his teammates and having a real conversation with them like, hey, look, bro, you're not playing hard. Like how you're operating is detrimental to the team. I'm seeing you do this. I'm seeing you do that. And how that feels as a player. And then if we put also the same visualization of a coach going to a player and being like, hey, you're not playing hard. Like the way you're playing is going to result in you not playing, being on the bench. Like I'm seeing you talk, you're being lackadaisical. You're not operating in a way that's needed for the team. I'm giving those examples to say like, I think it hits home hard, like in the sense of in both ways, it still will make you feel a certain way. I don't know if it's more impactful if a coach says it or if a player says it. I think there's dynamics to the team dynamic and structure will have an effect on how it hits in regards to if you're playing with like real good elite players and you're having an elite player come at you a certain way and be like, bro, how you're playing is not it. Like this is not the standard of how we play on this team and what you're doing is detrimental. That's going to make you feel a certain way. Yeah. And if you also have a coach telling you that in an elite program, that's going to make you feel a certain way too, especially if they're being honest with you about what's going on. So it's hard for me to say it's going to hit home harder coming from a player or from a coach. I think it's very situational.
Yeah.
But I think both, and I know you're envisioning what I'm saying, visualizing what I'm saying. Like, I think both examples hit home super hard, especially when you're playing in a real program. Like, because you're knowing, like, for one, if you're seeing a coach go at the best players, what makes you exempt? Then if you have a player or elite players coming at you too, it's like, well, there's no wiggle room in regards to how to facilitate or get around it. It hits home both like on the same metric to me. So
no, I hear you for sure.
I would say it just depends on the situation. But if we're talking from an elite program, I think both examples will hit hard on a player if a coach is saying certain things, or if a player, or players are saying certain things.
Yeah, it's situational for sure. I do agree with you on that. And I think to add a kind of an interesting situation to it, let's just say the dude is the best player on the team and he doesn't work hard. He's selfish.
I've seen
and
that.
I feel like,
no, that's real.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like it happens more often than people would think it does.
That's very real.
And I think that situation holds a little bit more weight because
that's a good example.
You're in a place where you have a guy that doesn't know how to be told what he's doing wrong. And I've seen it. I'm sure we've both been a part of it. And man, teams like that have a very vulnerable just team and able to what success looks like and what losing looks like. And it's very hot and cold, right? Because you could have a team that does very well with that. But then at a certain point, it just turns off and they just go downhill and they're looking at, well, why did it go downhill? When in the reality of it is the kid that was really good is holding y'all back because somebody doesn't know how to talk to him. Players are scared to talk to him. When you're good at something, you almost feel like, do I feel like I have the right or entitlement to go after? And it's your teammate. That's your brother. And I think those situations, man, get challenging because it sounds like a hot take, but I would say a player that's able to maneuver like that and to have that type of like, oh, I know that, I'm going to carry myself like this, even though there's nobody behind me that I'm going to bring with me because I just really don't care. I'm going to get what's mine. I would almost blame the coach for that, man.
Exactly.
You can't blame the teammates because the coach has to set the standard. And for a bad player to have a bad attitude, which I'm going to say that's a bad player right there. I don't care. That's a bad player. That's a bad teammate. In high school, maybe a little bit in middle school nowadays, but these kids know exactly.
Especially in college.
Especially in college. They know exactly what they're doing. So for that to be done and be able to be done on a team, you got to look at the coach. No one else. Because he's the one that's allowing it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
You're right, bro. And it's crazy. That specific answer,
for sure.
That's such a real thing because that's making me think of, and I'm not going to speak in depth, but like, man, I've seen that personally to where you have because the reality is when you have a top-notch player doing that, other players who might not be as good. I mean, at a certain point, every player is good, but there's tiers. So when you have great players or really good players doing that, for sure, they're going to be players to be like that are going to think like, man, I can't say anything to him.
Yeah.
That's one of the best players on the team, or that's the best player on the team. At that very point, that's for sure on the coach.
That's right, because what makes them fear that?
That's the coach. And the reality is a coach is going to have to be stern in a sense of being like, hey, look, check it out. Yes, you might be good. Yes, you might be one of our best players, but hey, don't get it twisted. You'll be off this team before I let you continue to maneuver like this. Yeah. That has to be there.
Yeah.
Like there can't be, because I promise you, I'm just not trying to be like I've seen this to
Speak
where
your truth, bro.
I've seen these examples, and you see from a team perspective when the coach is still being lax on it, or when he's still giving grace, or it's like, yo, you need to be a little bit more stern about this, or a lot more stern, or you need to like let it be known, like, look, again, yes, it's about winning to an extent, and it is about winning. But if there are things that are detrimental, a player is going to need to be known like, hey, look, you might, at this point, we're in the portal space, but you're going to need to transfer if this is how you're going to operate because we're not maneuvering like this. This is not how it's going to be. That has to come from the coach.
It's got to.
It has to. And players are smart. So when you see players, especially a top player that's knowing, or a few players that know they can get away with things, you don't think they're talking about that? You don't think they don't know that? You don't think that's locker room talk, or people can't, there's not conversations like, man, this coach is sweet. we could do this or we could do that and we the man on the team. And like there's certain things that you hear and that you know to where it's like, and they don't respect this coach.
And then you see a week or 2 or 3 after, certain players start to act the same way. And that's when you're like, wait,
It trickles.
what happened there?
Yeah.
And you start doing crazy stuff, whether it's like yelling at the ref on the court or just, the fouls and just just wilding out for sure. And I think that, like you said, the cancer part is real, bro. And I mean, I've been on teams like that and I've seen teams like that. And I think the sad part is all it takes is consistency and structure of, like you said, you're not going to be on this team. And it sucks because I couldn't imagine what it's like to cut a guy that's just good. Raw talent, can't find that. Can't teach it, can't find it. If you do find it, awesome. Like, let it ride with you. But when the attitude, when the selfishness, when the work ethic comes to be a part of it and he's just gifted, man, that's got to be hard to cut that tie. But again, like you said, you have other players that are looking at this. And then when your other players start wilding out, you're almost losing the ropes, or in this case, you're almost losing the ship, and you're done.
You are,
and
it's very, very hard. And the reality is, you're usually not going to see other play. The only way it can really, really happen is if it's coming from another top player.
Yeah,
and that other top player really he just doesn't care in a sense of, because the reality is, especially if we're talking like the college, like playing in college, you're in practice for a certain amount of time, but then you're just out in the world and things like that. So if you're bringing this type of energy to one of your other teammates, you have to still see him on campus or in other spaces, to whereas your coach is not going to be there, or that can really isolate you. So you have to be ready to be, and I don't want to say exiled, but isolated. So if you're not a top player and you're not doing that, the other role players or the other players on the team, they're not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Their game doesn't quantify for them to be able to say anything. It can only come from another top player, and usually that other player that's, we'll say, a cancer on the team will probably buck. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's going to be, so you would have to be like a Kobe-esque type of player, to where it's like, yeah, I'm a top player and I don't care. Like, I'm here to win. And if you all aren't on this type of time, I don't care about being y'all's friend. That's it. You have to have a certain mindset to even approach doing things like that, because there's a level of immaturity that's on the team. So if a player is operating in the fact that he knows that he's good, but he has an attitude, he doesn't play hard, he doesn't practice hard, he's just operating off raw talent, and somebody's challenging that, he's probably going to get met with immaturity.
Yeah.
So the person that's meeting him with that is going to have to be cool with being like, look, I don't care if you don't like me. I'm not here to be your friend. I don't care about being friends. And he has to stick to that. But essentially, it has to come from the coach. And when you see it doesn't come from the coach, other players see that. And then it's just a trickle.
Yeah, it's a trickle.
It's a trickle, man.
It's a trickle. And I want to read off these just kind of like bad teammate, bad habits that I took notes on, and how it does take an impact on, from going high school to college ball to your everyday work life. Yeah. So it says bad teammate traits and how it transitions to life. Blames teammates, blames coworkers, boss in the situation. So basically just making excuses. Complains about role, complains about job, pay, position. We're talking about role players and how they complain. Well, man, I don't want to be a 2. I want to be a 1, or I don't want to be a 1. I want to be a 3. And it's like, again, that carries into what we're talking about. Only shows up when it benefits them. Inconsistent in relationships and work. Now, that's a big one for a lot of people. No, not just the guys that struggle, that are good, that are bad, but I feel like that's a big one for a lot of people in terms of consistency, bro. Like, if it's not about the game, it doesn't necessarily always have to reflect in the life, which can be scary for a lot of people. Yeah. Doesn't support others. So obviously, like, if your teammate does really well, it's not really caring for it. So jealous, competitive in a toxic way. And the last one, quits mentally when things get hard, which this is my favorite one, which I want to spend some time on. Gives up in real life pressure. I find it so crazy, bro, that a lot of athletes that choose to love a game, choose to love something that you're supposed to fail, have a quitting mentality. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about like, oh man, like I'm done. Like it's subconsciously like you're done. But then, your conscious obviously picks up after that and it keeps you going. I don't think subconsciously to think like giving up is a bad thing, but to quit in terms of what I think of quitting, sulking, head down, disrespecting the court, disrespecting the field, just that type of quitting. why did you choose that sport? Why did you choose to be an athlete? You know what I'm saying? When we are supposed to understand that failure is to come with it and the growth in it is to keep going. So what are your thoughts on that, bro? I'm interested to hear because
Great points.
this is a crazy one. This is a huge one. And I think it aligns with when you have a guy that should be the dude that's good, that should be leading the team, but they're down by 15 points and you just see him start pulling up, taking threes, not running across, to get the rebound or just hustling at that point. Like, why do you think that happens? Where does that pull from?
It's never been rectified. There's been too much of it being alleviated by soft coaches, by coaches that look at the talent and they're like, well, we're going to allow him to get away with this because of his talent. So there has to be a coach in any player's life that cares about his development as a man more than who he is as a player.
That was hard. Yeah. I like that. Say it again.
There has to be a coach in any player's life at any point of their athletic career that cares about who you are as your development of a man, a young man going into manhood, than your game. Because what will happen is if you're just playing on teams where coaches care about you as an athlete, that's when you have athletes that just operate crazy. They, like you said, they walk with their head down. They'll allow a play to go. When their game isn't falling, they allow plays to go through. They're not operating in a space of persevering. Oftentimes, you'll see maybe a role player on the team go out in life and do great things because he's had to work for things his entire life. Or you'll see players to where it's like they've had to work on their game, and gradually you'll see a role player or a summer happens and you'll see a player that's a role player now become a star because he's had to work for it while the star was just operating off pure talent. That's why the saying is real. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. It doesn't matter how talented you are. If you're not operating in persevering or wanting to work on your game and be better, there are people that are less maybe God-given, that have less God-given talent, but have a work ethic, and now they become talented. And now they have a work ethic as well. So, man, it really just boils down to when I promise, man, I'm visualizing certain things while I'm saying this. And again, every time I've seen this happen, the coach was too lenient. Every single time.
I'd agree.
And I've seen it to where his coaches would kick players out of practices, and now you're seeing a coach direct that energy to other players to where it's like, yo, you're not really mad at us for real.
Yeah.
Internally, you don't even know how to deal with that one player. So now you're giving all these other people in spaces that type of energy to where it's like, we know what's going on.
Yeah.
You're afraid of this player. You're afraid of kicking this player off the team or losing this player because of something you have internally, or because the stakes are high, or because this is a high level of basketball. You're not rectifying or handling correctly. Because for sure, at top schools, if we're talking like D1, that when you have real traditional lineages of programs, you're not having those problems.
No.
It does, because talent is coming through all the time. So if you're going to operate like that, the moment it's peeped, you'll be off the team. It has to be that detrimental to where it's like you're in a system to where if you show signs of back talk, of not working hard, of the moment things don't go right, you're ready to quit, we'll replace you. And you need to feel that, and you need to know that. And that's why I say, again, when we talk about players and coaches, it depends on who it comes from, because it's supposed to hit a certain way, but it just depends on the program that you're in. If you're playing like, let's say, a Duke or North Carolina or any top D1 school, and you have players that were all Americans and all top players in the countries and things like that with those accolades, and they're coming up and they're saying that, and then the coaches are saying that too, that's for sure going to hit a certain way.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to hit a certain way. It doesn't matter what angle it's coming from because of the program, the lineage. So that's what's needed. It's very, very nuanced, but it for sure comes from the coach. It's a coach thing, and I know we both seen it to where man, I'll just leave it at that. It's a coach thing, man, and players see it.
Players see it, and I think to again make another hot take is like, I don't ever want a player or a kid that just has raw talent, man. Like, I think to get back to it is the reason why I feel like kids quit, at the high school level and at the college level is because they never really faced any type of like real loss before. Adversity, exactly. That's the best word to describe it. And I find that to be so sad because you know how the development side of things and how comfortable you have to be to just let a kid win all the time. And for, the prime example is this, and it's funny because I always mess around, but with my nephew, he's in that weird age to where he just wants to win at everything. And me and his dad talk about that. And my sister, they do a good how to lose. And I think there is a level of understanding that you need to learn how to lose because come on now, we're not winning in life. A lot of us don't win in life. Like you continue to strive to win. Absolutely. You have moments where you win, but win in life, you don't.
You're persevering.
And you're exactly. Constantly. So to have these kids, bro, and we could easily pull up to a court, we could pull up to a field, and we could tell the guys that have never lost before. And I think that's the part that I would really try to tell these athletes is put yourself in situations where you can lose. And not by like giving up and losing, but like where you can really show yourself that losing is a direct option. And my thing is, I feel like these kids nowadays, bro, they're too complacent. And when it happens in the real game, they start wilding out, throwing stuff, yelling at teammates, yelling at coaches, getting in people's faces. And the only thing that aligns to it is, like you said, a coach that is too lenient. And also the fact of parents or on their end, not putting themselves in situations for them to be humbled or to understand what losing is. And I don't want players like that on my team. I don't, like you said, a Duke, a Kentucky, they're not going after guys that just have raw talent. That's a diamond. Like you could find that anywhere. They are going to bring that in. You know what I'm saying? But to have guys that work hard, that's why I love seeing these walk-ons that just turn into something great and hit the buzzer beater in March Madness. Bro, nobody saw that coming, and it only happened because they were determined, they had a solid work ethic, and they're good teammates.
Absolutely.
Being a good teammate will take you further than anything else. Talent, yes, it's going to play a part in it, but if you don't know how to play a role, come on, bro, you're just fighting for your life at that point. And then when something happens to you and you get knocked down, you're kind of in this dwindling place of, who am I now? Again, as an athlete, who am I now?
Usually don't see the players, if we're talking about these caliber of players, when you see them in life after the aspect of sports, they usually don't pan out well for real. When you
Very true.
When you see players that were once, and there's documentaries on certain players. I'm not the type to name drop, so that's not my style. So I'm not gonna even do that. But when you see players that have been ranked high in high school or that have had a lot of the spotlight on them, but they've operated in the space of really just entitlement based on their game. Because that's really what it is. Being an entitled player, they don't pan out because the reality is, again, subsiding this sports are a reflection of life. When you get off that court, when you get off that field, there's going to be trials and tribulations that happened in life. You can't enter the portal. You can't transfer. You can't find a new coach. You're going to have to see it through. And it doesn't matter how talented you are. If you don't have grit to that talent, there are going to be people who have less talent but way more grit, and they're going to win in life. That's why when you see players and they're saying that they're ranked this or they're ranked this in the state or they have this, that means nothing. That means absolutely nothing, because when you step on that court, when you step on that field, it's a fair place. You could be ranked number 1 playing against somebody who's not ranked. And they can give you 50 points. But that unranked player could give you 4 home runs. It doesn't matter what their ranking is. If you don't have grit and determination and passion and love with that hard work, there's going to be somebody who has less God-given talent that's hungry, that's ready to take your spot, that's coachable, that's determined. Those people usually do well in life. There's a plethora of people that I could think about that were entitled at a certain point in my collegiate athletic experience. And when I see certain things now, it's like, man, I can see why it went that way for you. Because you were operating in a space of, you were given a God-given ability, but you didn't work hard for it. You were entitled with it. You had a crazy attitude. You didn't treat people correctly. Now you get in the real world and it's real things going on. And again, like we talked about in the beginning of this podcast, you applied those same acumens to the real world and it doesn't work. It's never going to work. It's never going to work. For one, nobody cares what you did in a sport if it didn't pan out. And now you're in the real world and you're still moving from an entitled aspect. It's not going to work. So again, who you are is going to be a reflection of how you are off the court of the field. And like you said, man, I'd rather have a whole team of hard workers with maybe not that much God-given talent, but they're hard workers than a team full of entitled, talented players. I don't want to be around that, and I wouldn't want to coach that. And I feel for coaches that have to be in the midst of that.
Yeah.
And I see why coaches resign or stop coaching because of that.
You've seen it.
You can't coach in that aspect.
You can't. The greats have already shown that they pulled themselves out of coaching the game that they love because they can't do it anymore. Now, it's funny that you mentioned that, bro. And I'll give this one story before we start to close out a little bit. But I think back to the whole point of, being in situations to where the stakes are higher, you can lose, and it gets a little bit more comfortable whenever you're on in this side. In this case, like you have a good game personally, or your team's doing well. Dude, our senior year, I think we went 18-0 our first 18 games. Wow. We were ranked I think we were ranked like 32nd or something crazy like that. Probably in 50, but I could have sworn I saw like 32nd to 35th nationally. That's so we were 18-0, bro, and we had a group of 10 seniors. And I remember once it got to, because 4 or 5-0 is cool and all, but that's not really anything. Like, there's been streaks that have happened like that. But when we got to like 10 or 11, I could feel like this natural pull of, all right, you can relax a little bit. Like these next couple of games, like you're going to be okay. And it's natural. I'm not saying that you're a bad person because you have these tendencies to feel entitled or pump your chest out a little bit, or you see yourself on the newspaper. It's literally going to happen. That is what we are about. Our ego is going to get so full sometimes to where it's got to pop. And we were slowly getting to that point, bro, to where 12-0 came, 13-0 came, and I could feel us as a team. Life just wanted to tell us, or the sport just wanted to tell us, like, y'all are good, 12-0, that's pretty good. And certain guys had to be accountability partners. Hey, no, we can't. My dad, as our coach, we can't let that happen. Yeah. And the best thing that he did for us was continue to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Continue to do this. So it went up to 13 to 14. I think there was one game in that mix of the 12 to 15 where we were down by like 3 to 4 runs in the last inning. And I remember specifically leading off that inning and getting a walk, and we ended up coming back, putting up 7 runs and winning the game at the end. So moments like that were continuing to help us to get better and better. But my whole point in that is it's going to get like that. Regardless if you pull, push, do whatever you can to try to not let that happen, you're going to have moments where your ego gets filled as an athlete. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a good game, and that's going to turn into 3 or 4, and then somebody's going to notice, and then a woman's going to notice. And then when the woman notices, she's like, oh my gosh, Julian, you're so good. Like, you're going to do big things. And then your name's in the paper, and then you see yourself on the top leaderboard, as in the city or in the state. And then what happens? It comes down, and it's like those players are so filled in that, bro, to where they're worth what they feel like life is about is seeing the accolades, seeing how the success is going, to where when it gets pulled away from them, they don't do anything. And I think I want to validate these players. It's not that it's not okay, or you have to completely pull and be a friction against it, but you got to accept when that happens and just move with it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't move with it, you get into this point to where you're blaming your coworkers, you're looking at your boss in your eyes, you're making excuses, and then you find yourself not being able to get hired because you've built a rapport about yourself that's all based off of ego. And that's really what it comes down to as a sport, as an athlete. It's ego-based, and you got to pull yourself out in moments like that, especially when you're not doing well, because who is going to tell you, hey, fix your layup, or, in this case, when you're doing this, when you're breaking what would it be, like a double team, or just doing anything, there's spread the ball around, stop going to this. Like, you're just putting yourself, you're not going to listen if you're ego filled with it. Absolutely. Same thing in baseball. But once you take it out and you become open to communication, constructive coaching, then you find yourself in a light of like, okay, I'm not too big for this game anymore. What I'm doing is I'm trying to find a way to be better.
Absolutely.
And it's not about you anymore, So those are big ones, bro. I think all in all, what we can kind of hone in today is making sure that these guys understand that, yes, as much as the sport is important in this moment as a high school and college, junior, senior, it's got to be bigger. And sometimes if you don't have the coach in your ear, and if you're the guy that's egotistical or that's all talent and needs to work harder, and he's not doing that for you, do it on your own. We got to still put accountability back on the players. Yeah. Don't we?
No, we absolutely do. I think at earlier stages, That's why it's super critical to have real good coaches.
Yeah.
Or just quality men around young men, because there needs to be a certain level of guidance that one just might not have. And I'll just say this because while you were thinking about it, my all-time favorite player is Kobe Bryant. The older I get, and I've always had respect for this player's game that I'm going to say, but from what you were just saying, that's what makes LeBron so great. He's had the spotlight since he was 18.
That's true.
Earlier, truthfully.
That's true.
Earlier. And he's panned out and is one of the greatest players of all time. But it's the longevity. He never let his foot off the gas. He's continuously gotten better and better and better. And honestly, he probably could have let his foot off the gas when still would be great. But he's continuously gotten better, and he had the spotlight at such a young age.
That's a great point.
And he's 41 now. I remember being in 5th grade wearing his jersey. I'm 33 now. And he's still in the league.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That is wild.
That's crazy. Like and from a more mature aspect, when I think about that level of just greatness, also playing again when you're speaking, we're speaking from athletes that have played at a high level. So we can speak from a totally different tier than just the casual or somebody that's played sports but at a certain level.
Yeah.
When you know the work that it takes, and when you've seen, especially when you're like at a high D1 or when you're at a high elite program, the work that it takes, and you're also going against other elite players, and to have that spotlight and those accolades and to continuously get better, that's amazing. That's amazing, man. And I think at a young age, it is on the due diligence of older men to really, really give guidance and direction to younger players. Because you need to be told, like, man, I don't care if you went for 40. We going back into the gym tonight.
Yeah.
Like, you lost. Okay, it's cool. Keep your head up. 5 a.m., 6 a.m. in the morning, we on the track tomorrow. We're not going to allow again, it's almost like you have to, like, the wins can't matter and the losses can't matter. You have to be even keeled. You have to, because if you stay too high, the fall is coming. If you stay too low, you can't rise. All the accolades, all the congratulations, all you the best, I appreciate it, but you can't allow that to fester in. Not being ranked, not being where you want to be right now, you can't let it fester because you can get to a certain place. It has to be goal-driven.
Yeah.
It has to be goal-oriented. It has to be, I need to be the best player I can be for my team. For me, first, so I can contribute, but also for the sake of my team so I can be the best asset to the team. If you get caught up in all of that, as an individual or as a team, that's when the fall is coming. But it's for having a good coach, good assistant coaches, good fathers, good uncles, good grandfathers, to where it's like, I'm happy for you. You went for 40, and really internally being like, you don't really know how happy I am for you and proud I am of you. But we got to get back in the gym tomorrow.
Yeah.
2-a-days. We got to get in that weight room, because I can't allow you to start thinking, I'm him. You are him, and you should feel like that, but you can't let that override what you have going on. So it's at a younger age, and even it doesn't matter any tier, it's having good guidance.
You need definitely
that. You need it. I think, and again, I'm saying when you're at a younger age, but even high D1 professional sports, you need it the higher you get, truthfully, because now it's more pressure and now it's more distractions. Especially if you're getting better, you're performing better, money gets involved, women gets involved, traveling now you need real guidance. The shield needs to get tighter the higher you go. So this isn't a matter of, you're younger, you need guidance, and then when you get to it, it can be relinquished. No, it's a matter of a mindset and having guidance.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said that, because again, bro, it's not we're speaking on team sports, right? We both play team sports. Like golf, tennis, there's some other things that play a part in it, in other sports that are, individual based. But I think the biggest thing is you're always going to have teammates, and there's nothing wrong with being accountability partners towards each other, as much as you have an accountability partner from an uncle, from a dad, from a grandfather, from a coach. Because like you said, you're going to come across those coaches that just let you do whatever. And that's what's going to happen. But you still got to have that player mindset of like, look, I'm not watching out for my coach. I'm watching out for my dude to the left of me or to the right of me, because he's already 20, 30 years ahead of us. The odds are he's probably not going to change. That's just who he is. we can't expect him to change.
That's true.
The guy next to me is, we have the rest of our lives to pick and look and say, look, the way he coaches isn't right, but we can change on how we play, how we practice, how we do things, and how we align with ourselves. So that way, when we get to his point, it's not like a revolving door of, this is how he is, that's how we get it. This is how he is, that's how we get it. Yeah. And you see teams like that, bro. I know we can pinpoint NBA teams, MLB teams that have a history of just not producing. And I don't feel like it's because of anything else other than the leadership and the accountability of the players in the locker room. Because losing, it stinks. It stinks real bad. Yeah. And nobody likes to lose, but people are okay when it comes to not having expectations and accountability. So, I don't know, man. Bad teammates, they don't disappear. They grow up, for sure. Yeah. They grow up.
And that just might just be it. They grow up in age, but that's about it.
Some turn into coaches, others turn into other things, but I think the way that it shows up day in and day out, it just makes it more of a reason why these guys that are athletes in this very moment should take this and what we're saying right now and apply it, man. Like, in this case, the accountability partner is us telling you guys, like, do your thing, practice, do what you got to do, put yourself in these situations, because when it gets to the real world, it only gets tougher. Because not only for athletes, but when we get older, you got your own place, you got your own car, you got distractions, you got work, you got party, you got so many other things that you got to worry about, to where you got to be held in tight, even on the times that you have good days. So, Julian, leave us with some words of wisdom for these guys that are out there that are maybe going through this, or they have experienced a teammate like this, or they're with a coach right now that that they're probably in this season with them.
Yeah, these are real situations, and again, it really just depends on where somebody is in their collegiate career. But I would say that the biggest thing somebody can do is be receptive to real guidance.
I like that.
Be receptive to a coach that's really on you, that's giving you guidance, that's really on you in a sense of, you might think that they're being hard, or they're being unfair, or it's too much, that they're putting too much on you. But always remember, and we've said this countless times, if a coach is talking to you, if a coach is on you, it's because they see greatness in you and they care. Beware when a coach stops talking to you. So don't be reluctant. Don't give back talk, because you don't want to put a coach in a mindset of, oh, I'm trying to pour into him and he doesn't realize this, but he's giving me back talk. So let me divert this energy to a player that's more receptive to it. That can happen too.
Yeah.
That's a very real thing. So again, for good players, for players that are on their grind, for players that are in whatever space they're in, if you're on a team sport specifically, or if you're not on a team sport, be receptive to just a male, but anybody that you know loves you, that's really giving you real guidance and advice. Don't run from it. Don't buck. Don't defer from it. Be receptive to it, because you're going to need it. And the older you get, the more you mature and you grow, you're going to realize how impactful it is. So don't run from that. Receive it.
Amen to that, man. Appreciate you guys. And again, just keep working, keep doing the things that you need to do, and always remember to stay blessed. And whatever sport that you're in, make an impact. Be the team guy, play a role, and just do it consistently. Catch y'all, my guy.
As always.